Alas, there is time for ruminating. All right, so it's History Boy here. Been doing some work and this and that, and been trying to keep the railroad tracks of inspiration going. And so to cap off the day, one that's been on my mind quite a bit, in terms of Ruminations episodes, which I've been ruminating, hence the title, is Tekken 2. Specifically, a remake of Tekken 2. Now, it seems that as far as the Tekken fan community, so to speak, goes, excuse me, most of the remakes that they've wanted, and I sort of agree. Like Tekken 3, for example, would be a good one. But then we got Tekken Bloodline, which is, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but you know. But then Tekken, the first game, which I kind of disagree with a little bit. It's like we've pretty much covered all we need to cover story wise. Enough in the first Tekken, maybe, but I mean, I basically half agree and half disagree. But one Tekken, one of the you know let's say the PS1 trilogy, because that's what they are. Yeah, the PS1 trilogy, Sony PS1 trilogy of the 90s Tekken games. Of course, Tekken 3 is in that category because that came out in, well, the console release came out in 1998, and the arcade was in 97-ish, for example. So it counts, even though it's based 19 years after the second game. But that's the whole thing with time skips in video games, TV, films, etc. But yeah, I'm digressing kind of a bit. So yeah, this is just kind of a main discussion of what would you like to see in those of you out there that may be fellow Tekken fans, some those of my subscribers out there, or those of you who have yet to subscribe but are coming across this video because algorithms, God knows what they do, algorithms, but damned if I know, as they used to say in the piratey days. Well, whatever. I'm just talking a bit of twaddle to give this a bit of runtime so it isn't a short, hopefully. Actually, no, it doesn't really matter if it is or it isn't. But I prefer that my videos aren't shorts. But then again, I get the most views on a lot of shorts. It goes back and forth a little bit. It's a bit like, why do things happen the way they do sometimes? But yeah, I think for example, me, what I'd like to see in a Tekken 2 remake is actual, because they had like rival battles and sub bosses in you know in, for example, um the first Tekken and Tekken 2. I mean, they had sub bosses in 3 technically, but those were like extra characters you could unlock, like Julian, Heihachi, and Kuma and Panda and Gunjack, all those people. And Gon and Anna and Gon, actually, this is actually a good point, good relevance to comparatively to toss both things in there, if that makes any sense. I'm a bit tired. Not so tired I can sleep, but it's getting there. I think it's because I've had a bit of a alert Neanderthal brain week, trying to do this and that. But enough about me, if anybody cares. I mean, people do care, but it's like it's time of the place kind of thing. But yeah, Gon's a guest character in Tekken 3. Tekken's first guest character, actually. And so, for example, I mean, I'm not massively keen on the overabundance of guest characters, but there are certain ones that fit in. It's like, for example, in Tekken 7, I don't think Negan fit in that well. I mean, he was a fun character, but I don't know, he just didn't fit. Geese, Geese was my Geese is my go-to in the guest characters, because I've never really had the chance to play the Fatal Furies or the King of Fighters, even though I am sort of a fan of them. I never played them in my childhood like I did my Tekken games. I never came across them really until later on when I was just binging fighting game content. Um, Samurai Showdown's a good one too, but I haven't played that either. And I aim to just like do one day a retro video game collection thing, which I just play. Um, but yeah, speaking of King of Fighters and guest fighters, I think, and I've had this idea for a while. For example, I'm not sure if you all feel the same, but this is a Ruminations episode where you have, you know, where people are. I encourage I encourage people to comment all the time anyway. But um, this might be actually a stealth. Yeah, I'll call this a stealth Knights of the Debate Table episode too. Come to think of it, because I encourage people to discuss almost like on a forum, but on a video comment section, where what they would like to see in a theoretical remake of a game. Um, and the guest character things. I think I would like to see, keeping with the King of Fighters and SNK sort of um, other franchises kind of fighting game characters. Like we've already had Akuma in 7 and Geese Howard. Akuma being from Capcom, Gurki, also known as Gurki in the original Japan in Street Fighter, and Geese Howard from Fatal Fury and the King of Fighters. Oh, and the Art of Fighting 2 as well, which is a sort of a prequel in between. It's sort of, yeah, Art of Fighting 2 is a prequel to the first Fatal Fury game, or at least it used to be, and then they got kind of retconned. But that's another story, I suppose, potentially. So yeah, I'd like to see, for example, Ignis, the final boss from the King of Fighters 2001. I don't know when Tekken 2, for example, is supposed to be set. There used to be a wiki saying it used to be set in the 80s, but it's probably more like the modern day when it was released. So anywhere from 1995, 1996, or even 1997, depending on the game's story. So this for Ignis, this could be like several years before the events of the tournament he holds, for example. So he could fit in, I reckon. Just like how young Geese Howard a was the final boss or one of the bosses in, for example, the Art of Fighting 2, which is leading up to chronologically his appearance in the first Fatal Fury game with Terry Bogard and so on and so forth. Geese being the guy that killed his adopted dad. And yeah, bit of lore there. But for example, going on with what else I'd like to see in Tekken 2, I'd like to see actual cut scenes rather than just cutting to the battle like they do in the original games, and they sort of cut that out in Tekken 7 a little bit. They rushed that. Um, I think past Tekken 4 and 5, they sort of stopped with the interludes. I'd like to see interludes in the Tekken 2 remake, where, like for example, in that game, you had Beck and Lay and Beck and Law Martial Law, his son being Forrest, who replaced him and debuted in three, and then was in Tekken Tag, and then his dad came back because they decided to bring the original Law back. But Law Senior had his rivalry with Beck, who's Huarang's master. So, like for example, I mean, they even have an interlude in 5 as well, if you play it as Beck in story mode, which is a little brief, but they acknowledge that the rivalry from 2 was still kind of there. So yeah, there'd be like interludes between Beck and Law, Lay and Bruce. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much all I kind of have to say about Tekken 2. I mean, yeah, feel free to comment and like and subscribe and blah blah blah. And this has been a Ruminations episode by Liam.